Britain's veterans are on the offensive, angry that former comrades are being pursued through the courts in their old age. This march through London was in support of 79-year-old Dennis Hutchings, who's facing trial over a fatal shooting in Northern Ireland 47 years ago.
We must reject entirely the prosecution of service personnel for actions legitimately taken in the line of duty.
Former Armed Forces Minister Johnny Mercer was sacked by Prime Minister Boris Johnson for claiming the government had betrayed veterans.
This is the nation's cause. Okay, it's how the nation looks after its veterans that we care about. Enough is enough.
Mercer believes he can campaign more effectively outside government.
I think successive governments just seem to have some sort of mental block when it comes to our veterans. If you send these guys away and you ask them to serve in the military, you've got to look after them when they come home. And this kind of pursuing them endlessly for years is the bottom of the pit for me.
I'm on trial for attempted murder and grievous bodily harm with intent.
Hutchings supporters claim he's being hounded to placate Northern Ireland politicians sympathetic to the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, that fought the British during the conflict.
The circumstances were we were doing a big operation following up, and there was an incident where I can't talk about it because I've got to go on trial for it, and a young man got killed.
The victim was 27-year-old John Pat Cunningham, who had learning difficulties and a fear of men in uniform. He died in what the British Army regarded back then as hostile countryside, 50 miles southwest of Belfast. Cunningham was shot in this field as he ran from a patrol led by Hutchings. Previous investigations have cleared the former soldier. The relatives of John Pat Cunningham have declined to be interviewed, and the reason being they don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardise, potentially, the trial of Dennis Hutchings, which is due to take place later this year. But what they have said in the past is that if Dennis Hutchings is adamant about his innocence, what he should do is come to court and clear his name. A new law to deal with so-called legacy cases was promised in this socially distanced parliamentary ceremony when the government's plans for the next legislative session were unveiled in the Queen's speech.
Measures will be brought forward to strengthen devolved government in Northern Ireland and address the legacy of the past.
I have no faith in the British Army and the British government at the minute when I see what they're trying to do and give amnesty to British soldiers.
40 years after his sister Carol Ann was hit in the head by a rubber bullet, Mark Kelly is still seeking answers. The 12-year-old schoolgirl was playing outside her home. There had been rioting in this neighbourhood a few days earlier, but Kelly insists it was peaceful when his sister was fatally wounded.
The first thing we want is a proper investigation. I was standing less than 2 feet from my sister when she was shot in the head. I was never spoke to by the police.
This archive shows the army using rubber bullets or baton rounds during clashes elsewhere in the province. British soldiers were first deployed to Northern Ireland in 1969 to act as peacekeepers between Catholics and Protestants after serious rioting. They were at first welcomed by Catholics, but as trouble intensified, Catholics began to regard them as an occupying force. Although the new legacy legislation hasn't been fully detailed, it's expected to stop future prosecutions.
They're using their sovereignty as a shield to prevent the disclosure of the activities they were engaged in during the conflict.
Mark Thompson runs Relatives for Justice, which supports those bereaved or injured during the so-called Troubles. He has no faith in the British government.
What are you trying to justify when you lock away files about the killing of children by British soldiers for 70 and 100 years? There are the issues that are burning a sore at the heart of this society and within this peace process: justice, accountability and the rule of law.
At the other end of the spectrum, Oliver McVeigh and his family have been tormented by the IRA. They abducted and murdered his brother Columba in 1975. McVeigh believes Columba was killed because he saw something he shouldn't have. The family grave bears his name, but does not contain his body. Columba's remains have never been found.
All we want is to get the body and put him in this grave. It's a Christian thing to do in Ireland, and the IRA take so much respect over their bodies.
McVeigh doesn't believe that stopping prosecutions would help him.
See, the IRA are gone now. They're elderly and they're old, but that's still not a good enough excuse to kill someone and bury them in a bog and not be able to find his body. Because if that happened to me, or I done that, I would remember exactly where it was and I would give it up. Now, not everybody is coming forward.
In another graveyard, Denise Mullen is also demanding information. She was 4 years old when her father, Dennis, a civil rights activist, was shot dead on his doorstep by Protestant paramilitaries that she alleges were in league with the security forces. The memory of sitting next to her father's corpse has never gone away.
It's not so much flashbacks that I have, but it could be anywhere, any time, any place, and this dreadful smell comes over me and it totally empowers where I am at that time. If I'm driving, I have to pull over to the side of the road.
Denise hopes new legislation will help reveal Northern Ireland's dark secrets.
I need to know why my parents were targeted, who decided that, and, for what reason. Let's pony up here. It's time we had it. My mother's 78 years of age. How long has she got to wait until accountability is given?
Billy Hutchinson helped negotiate Northern Ireland's peace accord, but as a teenager he was a killer for the outlawed Ulster Volunteer Force. He was convicted in 1974 of murdering 2 young Catholic workmen. We met in Belfast's Shankill Road, a Protestant stronghold replete with reminders of IRA violence and tirades against its political wing Sinn Féin, now the major Republican party in Northern Ireland.
Sinn Féin have never done peace and reconciliation, don't want to do peace and reconciliation. What they want is a British Prime Minister to dispatch back saying, we were responsible for the troubles in Northern Ireland and we take that responsibility and we apologise to the Irish people. That's what they want.
Some argue the best solution would be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission emulating post-apartheid South Africa. Dennis Murray is one of Northern Ireland's most distinguished journalists.
I think it's too late for that now. I think the moment has passed. If you take the South African experience as a precedent, they did it immediately after they had their political settlement, as it were, lanced the boil and then moved on. This has festered for so long now, I'm not sure that it's possible to do it.
But for Dennis Hutchings and his supporters, the new law may come too late. He's due on trial in September.
It's absolutely crazy when you think that we're the only country where this is happening. If you look at America, for instance, how you look after your veterans and service people, Germany, France have got the same thing. They have a statute of limitations.
The new law might restore the military covenant, promising fair treatment for veterans. But some fear it could rebound in Northern Ireland, exacerbating anger and pain in a country where violence is never far beneath the surface.